New information about the death of a man accused of killing Kentucky police officers. A Pike County grand jury looked into Lance Storz' suicide.
WKYT's Jeremy Toms joins us in studio to share what they found. Jeremy?
Yeah, Victor and Kristen, that grand jury heard testimony from Pikeville Police Detective Bruce Collins, who led the investigation into the death of Storz. The jury decided they agreed with the findings of the medical examiner, saying that Storz died by hanging himself.
The jury says their decision was also made based on surveillance video that they reviewed from the Pike County Detention Center. They say it showed Storz was housed in a pod of 4 individual jail cells and that he had a cellmate with him. At 2:13 a.m. on February 28th, the deputy jailer made his rounds and looked into each cell. The very next minute, they say Storz left the cell alone and entered a communal restroom, which was not on the video. They say the video shows Storz clearly appeared to have concealed items under his clothing, which they believe to be the bed sheets he used. In addition, his bedding was arranged to make it look like he was still there. Over the next several hours, cellmates entered 3 separate times. However, they stated that they did not see Storz, who was obscured from view in a shower stall. He was eventually found dead in the stall at 6:36 a.m.
So the jury concluded between the testimony, the evidence, and particularly that surveillance video that Storz died of suicide by hanging and that he acted alone.
Jeremy, thank you. That investigation into the death was assisted by KSP Detective Jason Merlo in addition to Detective Collins.